What's funny is I don't know, and I know more about what I don't know. I can't even make that make sense.
That was almost a sentence.
I know. What I'm saying is, I don't think these dudes I don't think their intentions are pure.
And they're getting together to jerk it with crystals. I don't know how pure their intentions could be.
It's fine. It's fine. To each his own.
To each his own crystal.
It's fine. You gotta charge your crystal somehow. You gotta.
It's not gonna charge itself. Oh.
Okay. Anyway.
So I just got back last week. It was really late on an off day. This week, it's the same situation because
it's a better day.
I was in Utah for 3 days, and now it's like almost midnight.
And he's like, would you say you're jet lagged?
Oh, damn, all right. Because that's only like an hour difference. I'm just exhausted. You know what I mean? From being on planes and stuff. I learned that let's start the podcast first. Hi, I'm Forrest.
And I'm Ben.
And this is I'm Not Comfortable With This. And now we're in it. Now it's begun. We've got that out of the way.
Can never.
The last two intros were like a minute and a half long of us being stupid. So like this one, which just in and out, clean. Who knows where I'll cut it? Maybe I'll leave some dumb shit in there. What I learned is that I don't like planes. I thought that because like I haven't been on a plane in like probably 6 or 7. Maybe longer than that. I've been on a plane since like 2011. It's been a long time since I was on a plane. And so like 10 years now, and I've learned that I don't like them. I used to not care. It used to be just whatever. You went up in the sky and then you were somewhere else. And now that I've studied science for a decade and I know very well, I don't even know very well. I know just enough of the physics to know how scary it is. You know what I mean? And so, like, I was flying. I hear that it's worse going across the Rockies. Apparently, it's always turbulent. I don't know. But, like, every single time, like, we would lose a little bit of altitude or something. Like, you know that droppy feeling in your stomach when you go over a little bunny hill in your car or on a roller coaster when it goes down too suddenly and you just feel that pit in your stomach drop. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, I got that a lot. And I'm like, okay, we probably just fell straight down at least like 10, 20 feet minimum, probably more than that. We're still in the air and not dying, but that did just happen, and I cannot stop thinking about it. And like that's... Get it? You watch planes take off and land, and it looks really smooth and uniform and organized. When you're on it, every little shake, every time you bank and turn, every wiggle of the wing, I notice it and I'm paying attention to it, and I'm just having a freaking panic attack the whole time. Like, and what's crazy is,
oh man,
you like there's like a 1 in 600,000 something like that chance of dying in a car crash. Like it's very likely, and a plane is like literally 1 in several million. Like it's crazy, orders of magnitude safer. There are people whose whole job it is to be on planes, pilots and flight attendants and all day, every day. That's all they do. I'm looking over at the freaking UPS plane, and it's bigger than my house, and it freaking flies all day, every day. And I'm on this little thing. The last plane I took to get back to Tulsa, I swear to God, it was the size of a bus with wings. It was tiny. And like, oh, so weird. So weird, man.
I don't know, man. Sounds dumb to me.
It's cool as shit. Thinking about how it works, I think that like if I knew how many fail safes there were,
you get in the tiny box and you fucking sail across the sky.
That's all it is. That's all it is. I feel like if I knew more about it, it would be either more terrifying. I don't like it would be a little bit better for my mind, or it would be a million times worse because I'd just be thinking about all those things too. You know what I mean? Because like the Bernoulli principle of fluid dynamics.
Oh fuck.
Plays a lot into how airplanes fly.
Oh yeah, the Bernoulli principle.
Well, it's basically that like it's that when air.
We all know it. Go ahead and explain it for the people.
Who are these idiots out here? The Bernoulli principle is that when air moves faster, the pressure reduces.
Okay.
So, like, for example, you can try this at home. Get 2 pieces of paper and, like, hang them, like, hold them from the top and, like, have them hanging straight down. And then from, like, the top down, like, pointing, put your face at the floor, blow sharply between the 2 pieces of paper. And your stupid monkey brain tells you that the air is going to hit the 2 pieces and they'll blow apart. But what happens is they suck together. Because when the air moves faster between the 2, there's relatively less pressure. There's more space between the molecules than there is around the pieces of paper. And so the molecules around the paper rush in to fill that space, and they squeeze the papers together. And so with an airplane, the wing is shaped, it's called an airfoil. It's like this teardrop shape, and it's kind of more rounded on top and kind of more straight on the bottom. And so the air passing across the wing has to travel a longer distance to go over the wing than under it. And so you have the air having to move a little bit faster going over the wing, so there's a low pressure system. And so airplanes work because they're literally being sucked up into the sky by the lack of air pressure on top of the wings. And, like, there's a million other parts to it. There's Newton's laws go into it, the thrust and all these things.
Bunch of things.
There's weight and drag, and then on the converse side, there's thrust and lift. And so, like, you have this 4-part system, but the whole principle of lift is, it's a large part of it is the Bernoulli principle. And so I'm sitting there on the freaking plane.
My grandpa tried to explain this to me when I was, like, way too little to understand.
I'm sitting there on these planes, man, and I'm like, thousands of feet in the sky, and I'm like, the only reason that I'm here right now is because of the way that air is moving.
Because of Bernoulli, man.
Because of fucking fluid dynamics. It's just because of fluid. There's physics here.
It's because they invented gravity.
And it's that's because they invented. Did you see that?
I did, yeah.
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 Whatever I'm talking about, you probably know it.
Yeah.
It's freaky.
What if nobody ever invented gravity?
I made a video about that on TikTok.
What if they just didn't invent it? No, I know you did. It's a reference.
But, like,
the forest lore, the lore of forests. Lorest.
I still want. God damn it!
What?
We can't be this stupid.
The script keeper. What?
We can't be this stupid.
I can do whatever I want.
Click away from this. It's only gonna get worse.
This is
you had you wanted to talk about something today that wasn't the dumb shit that we've been talking about thus far. You wanted to talk about, like, the is there a right way to live? Wasn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, like, presumably I would have found some way to, like, talk about it. But yeah, I think I said my question. I think I asked I was like, is there a right or a wrong way to, like, live / exist? I think is what the question
to be a
was.
Human.
Yeah, because, like, the idea was, oh, my mouth's dry. The idea was.
We haven't even begun, and we're so far off the rails.
No, it's fine. That's how you start a show. The idea was, like,
people tune into that.
Was like people argue about it all the time. That's the idea. Is people argue about how you should live your life all the time.
Right. So you're asking, is there an objectively...
Isn't that an interesting concept?
Yeah.
Like, who should even how do you even begin to decide?
So we have talked briefly about the concepts of ethnocentrism. What is right for
everyone?
Yeah. We've talked briefly about the concept of ethnocentrism and like social and moral relativism. In that the relativistic view is that, you know, everybody's got their own way to be, every culture, you know, their values are there for a reason, and how can you ever say that this or that is wrong when, you know, it's working for these people? And then ethnocentrism is saying this way that I live is morally, ethically, rationally superior to every other way. And it's really, if you think about it, the only real way to really be a human. You know what I mean? And it can go to these extremes. And so it's kind of like patriotism versus nationalism, saying, like, I like my country versus my country is the only way to be a country and every other country is inferior and we need to become the empire. And so, like, ethnocentrism is a paradox. In fact, really both of them are. In that, with ethnocentrism, if there is that slippery slope where you can become an absolute asshole and be like, real imperialistic and say, this is the only way to live. You're subhuman if you don't do these things. If you don't live this way, you don't deserve to live at all. And my nation should rule the whole world. But then also, if you don't do that at least a little bit, you can never critique anything. And anybody can live horribly. You have Ted Bundy out there, and you're like, oh, well, I can't question his choices. It's his life, not mine. As opposed to, and that's, obviously, it's talking about culture, not individuals.
Of course, no. It's just really funny to take that to such a micro extreme.
Yeah.
It'd be like some dude with just imagining people being like, I mean, that's what Bundy wants to do. Like, if that was how his trial went, or if they were just like, I guess we have to let him, do this, like.
Well, it's like you've got
until he gets tired of it.
Ted Bundy
tired himself out.
You got Ted Bundy over here chopping people up, and you got Gandhi over here trying to make social change by sleeping with young girls. We have a disparity on how best to use one's time, is what it is, and that's like. But then that leads you to social relativism, which is just saying that the example that was given to me, and this was a very extreme example that I didn't like, but it is a good example for that reason. Was genital mutilation, which they called it genital cutting, to make sure that it was really trying to give it the benefit of the doubt, is that these young girls have their clitorises cut off and their labia sewn shut, and that's been the culture. And there are even some women who have had this done. They're like, I can't imagine doing this any other way. I can't wait to do it to my daughter.
Of course.
You have to come into this with this mentality of relativism and saying oh, well, who am I to say that this is wrong? It's their culture, not mine. And they've decided that this works. It must work for some reason. And I can't make that connection. And therefore some anthropologists would call me racist and ethnocentrist, and I have a problem because I can't make that leap to say that there must be something that's at least almost okay about that. And so,
well, fuck that.
Well, and that's the thing. I agree with you. Fuck genital mutilation in all of its forms. And yet, if we're going to sit here and talk about, is there a right way to live? If we agree that there is a right answer to this one question, then we've already ended the whole conversation. Yes, there is a right way to live. At least in this one respect, we can agree that cutting baby dicks and baby vaginas is not a cool move. It's not the best way to maximize human well-being and happiness.
Yeah, we probably don't have to do that.
Yeah.
And that's really, I think people take it too personally.
What do you mean?
The fucking, especially with male circumcision here.
Yeah.
I think they take it too personally.
Mm.
It'd be if my argument is just my son needs it because I have it.
Yeah. Why are you so concerned about your son's penis looking like yours? I had a dude, I was
not even just that, you need to fucking realize where it comes from and why it's not necessary and it's just a dumb thing.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is that I made the argument about, I was talking about religion. I was doing
and it's okay that you've got it and it's okay that they don't have it. It doesn't mean you guys aren't gonna
you're not related.
Yeah, it's fine.
How else will we measure our family tree except for the state of our foreskin?
What?
You pull out the photo album. Here's my grandfather's foreskin and his grandfather's foreskin.
That's a foreskin album.
It's got a book of jerky in your closet.
Grandpa's book of jerky. Come look at Grandpa's book of jerky. There's no context where that's not a bad thing. Anyway.
But I made a thing about that. I was talking about religion and doing a anti-religion thing, and I brought up circumcision because now in America, male circumcision is just a traditional cultural thing. Well, it should look like mine. A lot of people have it in their head that it's cleaner or something like that. You know what I mean? And it's fucking dumb. But it started as a puritanical thing. It started because people thought it's supposed to reduce masturbation and make sex not feel good. and it's supposed to It's supposed to numb your penis and make things not feel good. It just make it stupid.
If you weren't circumcised, you'd have a really smart dick. What do you think he's doing in there? He's reading. Knowledge is power. It's the rod of power. I'm connecting all the dots.
Your foreskin's like a graduation robe. My dick's got 3 bachelor's degrees. It's the smartest dick in this room. It's got.
Fuck. Oh my god.
Oh god. It started as a thing to make things not feel good. It started as a puritanical thing, and like you look up like Kellogg in here in America. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
He made cornflakes.
Yes.
So that because if you ate any spice, you'd have fucking desires.
Cornflakes are great, but like they've never stopped
me from masturbating ever. Never once have I had a bowl of cornflakes and be like, you know what? I'll take the day off.
What?
Why? But that's like you thought that if you don't know this listening, that's the truth. The guy who made, I forgot his first name, but Kellogg, like Kellogg cereal Kellogg guy. He invented cornflakes to be bland and flavorless because he thought that if you eat flavorful foods, it'll make you have crazy sexual urges. He also didn't like music. He also didn't like, I'm pretty sure.
It is, yeah, dude. Good food, music, alcohol, and masturbation. It all leads to sex.
They're all hand in hand.
And then what is that? You can't have sex. It's only for one thing.
It's only for procreation and male dominance is all it's about. Preserving the line.
Yeah, then you gotta dominate. You gotta dominate them all.
It's so stupid. That's the thing that I don't get. Like, I grew up in America, but I wasn't raised with, like, a puritanical view of sex at all. And, like, I never understood. Like, obviously, it's a big deal.
I would say I kind of got one. Not really, but kind of.
Right. You can contract a disease, and you can accidentally make another human, and it is important to know that sometimes feelings are involved. But beyond that, like, wait until you're mentally and emotionally mature, wait until you're of age, and make sure everyone's consenting and have fun. I don't understand why, like, for so much of our history, everything has been in some way or another about sex and gender. I don't fucking get the point. You know what I mean?
Well, it probably, like, served a purpose initially.
What do you mean?
Well, it used to be important because it was like you had to keep your little tribe's numbers up.
I guess.
So, like, there was a time when, like, fucking was really important.
Yeah.
They even had to let, like, the women choose things for a while.
God forbid.
Yeah. That's probably the only reason we fucking survived in the early days is because they let, like, the fucking wise women fucking decide what was gonna happen.
Like, all right, fine. You can flop about on me. We gotta make sure that we have someone to pick the corn in 4 years.
Yeah, no, you need when there's only 8 of you, you need fucking somebody to make number 9. For real.
It's absurd.
But that's like obviously just a ridiculous side thought.
It's like Stephen Fry said this. He said that we don't like Stephen Fry.
No, Stephen Fry's fine. I just think it's a funny name.
He said he was talking specifically about the Catholic Church, but this really goes for like all of the purity culture in America. This weirdness. I heard that the virginity rock shirts is actually a joke. I didn't know that it was for a long time. It was
it's just. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's just a bunch of dudes.
Even though that's not that might be a joke, but yet I have met kids like 13 years old with fucking purity rings and like going to church camps and like swearing themselves like abstinent and shit.
We got that shit kind of forced on us here in this state.
A little bit, but like I didn't as a like my culture. But what I'm saying is what Stephen Fry said and what I wanted to bring up was that like if I would say that I have a healthy relationship with food. I eat when I'm hungry. I don't when I'm not. Sometimes I eat too much. Sometimes I don't eat enough. I enjoy food. It doesn't control my life. I don't think about it 24/7. I would say that someone is obsessed with food if they are anorexic or morbidly obese. Like if you have a disorder of this kind. And I'm not saying those are the only two options. There are obviously a lot of extremes. But I'm just saying those are the extremes of this thing. Those are the people who are obsessed with food. That is the purity culture in our country in erotic terms. Is that the people who are obsessed with sex are the ones who are out here pushing on children. Make sure that you save yourself for marriage and don't look at a boob, and girls have to cover up, and don't, measure the length of your short with your pants. You might distract the male teachers around you. And instead of saying, hey, everybody respect everybody's boundaries. You know what I mean? I have a healthy relationship with sex. I do it when I want to. It's fun. And as long as I and whoever I'm doing it with are both into it and having a good time and everybody's on the same page, as long as we're both adults who are consenting, that's it. That's the whole thought process. We're both grown-ups. We both want to be here. That's it. I'm not obsessed with sex. I do it when I want to. With other people who want to.
Man.
That's the whole thing. For the past 8 years, it has been one person who wants to. That's the whole thing. Like, that, I'm not obsessed with sex. And I think the people who are obsessed with sex are the people who are going around trying to tell children fucking, why to stay away from, why to feel bad about this and that, trying to keep sex ed out of schools, trying to push abstinence culture, trying to stop birth control from being allowed, trying to stop abortion, those are the people who are obsessed with sex. And
what about people, and at risk of saying the phrase again, what about people who are legitimately obsessed with sex?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's the other side. That's the morbidly obese side.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, there are people who are obsessed with sex. They have too much, and it ruins their lives. And that's whatever. I've heard disparaging reports on this.
That's whatever.
That's its own thing.
If
that's
they
not a
fuck
political
themselves to death, that's fine.
that's their prerogative. But that's not a political thing. That's not a cultural thing. I'm talking about
I would beg to differ. There are organizations that would disagree with you, sir. There are plenty of people out there trying to completely eradicate pornography in all its states.
Yeah, but that's the other end. That's what I'm saying. That's the anorexic side of
still
sex
So what
obsession.
you're saying is we have a situation where the anorexics are trying to kill the obese.
The anorexics are
vice
trying to kill the people who just eat. Sometimes we gotta stop. We gotta stop picking on eating disorders. We're gonna offend. I don't mean to. I'm beating this thing into the ground. What I'm saying is the people who are way too obsessed with sex to the point where they're mad about it and really worried about who's doing it with whom and in what positions and for what reason and using what toys and at what time of day and whatever. Those people are trying to stop the rest of us from just having a jolly old time with our pants off. And that's an issue.
It's not working.
It's not. No, it hasn't stopped anything.
It's never ever worked since the dawn of time.
That's the thing, is that the more regressive the laws, like when you have these really strict abortion laws and no sex education and no access to birth control and shit, those are the places where abortion rates are the highest and teen pregnancy is the highest.
Ideally, you have a fucking... Ow, my ankle. You have an education system that has a good standardized grasp on how to teach sexual education.
Yeah.
And we don't, I don't think we don't really have that.
We don't here in America.
But it's possible.
It's very
to
easy
to create that. You just have to.
It's very easy. You just teach the biology. You let people get the giggles out. There shouldn't be giggles.
Dude,
the only reason there are giggles is because we have this ridiculous puritanical culture.
Right.
And we always see the body as a sexual thing no matter what.
So, when I was here, when I was here, that doesn't mean anything to these people.
When I was here on this planet.
yeah. So I lived in this area.
Yeah.
That we live in.
Yeah.
Most of my life, which is it's like a suburban area next to a city area, right? So we're close to a metropolitan area.
Yeah.
So I grew up mostly in that type of environment. suburban metropolitan. But I did live for 4 years in a tiny, tiny little town. I think we talked about it. Yeah, Newkirk. So when I lived out here in like third or fourth grade, we had, I think it was, it might have been later. Let's see, when do you start middle school?
6th grade in this city, I believe.
Okay, so then it would have been like 5th or something like that.
Yeah,
but we had like sex ed.
That's when I had it as well, as at the end of 5th grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like a normal sex ed course. I don't think it was that good, but I also don't remember most of it. But it was like, you know, they talked about puberty and they explained stuff to us. They talked to us about some of the stuff. We watched a video.
My whole one was a guy came in and said, "Hey, boners happen and it's okay," and that was the whole class.
That sucks. Okay, but that's at least something. So that at least they said, "Hey, boners happen."
Yeah.
So that was 5th grade here in Newkirk in high school in like 9th or 10th grade. We had the like abstinence only fucking like theater group come through.
Oh my god.
And like we had to watch that, and I was just like I was too old for that shit.
Yeah.
I was like, what are these guys talking about? I was like, what do they mean? Like,
I had the same thing. I went to the same school district the whole time, though.
Most of the people were like, what do they mean? Like, you can't.
Yeah. Yeah. I had like 3.
So
I remember
80% of the kids have already had sex.
we had the one in 5th grade where they were like, "Hey, your dick's gonna get hard. Don't freak out." And that was pretty much the long and short of it. And then we had one in like probably 7th or 8th grade that was like, "Don't have sex unless you're ready to die." And then the other one was in high school and they were like, "Let's all look at pictures of STIs for a long time." And they like those, we did it 3 times. And like none of them stopped anybody. None of them stopped anything. Come on, honestly. Like, that's the thing. Like, I got into an argument with somebody else about this a little while ago, is that, like, they're like, oh, well, because there was a study done, I don't remember the exact numbers off the top of my head, but it would not be hard to look this up, that access to birth control increases graduation rates in women, high school graduation rates.
Well, yeah, because
by a lot.
Don't think about dropping out as much if you don't have a fucking child.
Exactly. And some dude in my comment section was like, no, because I posted about this, and he's like, no, the thing that increases graduation is having a stable family. You have to have a mom and a dad, and we should be focusing on
thing.
Christian values and keeping the family together.
No, that's not a stable. That's
a thing, but it's not.
That's not what makes a stable family either.
Right, exactly. But like, and I double checked to be sure, because I know for sure that's not accurate, but I double checked, and sure enough, Harvard published a study that was like, the main thing that indicates right, the main things that indicate like whether or not you're going to graduation, the major like key components of graduation are attendance and GPA, because duh. Like, that's it. And like having a stable family was like number 30 on the list. Like it was, that's there because you can do your homework at home, but like having a mom and a dad, or 2 parents I should say, isn't at like the main factor at all. Like at all. No. It's having support from your teachers.
A shit ton of other. Like
there's so many things. Having food is important. Having like knowing where your next meal comes from.
Just what kind of person you are.
Yeah. Your learning style.
How you adapt to things. How you fucking handle life.
There's so much there that's just, ugh. And so, like, to just throw it back to these weird, heteronormative, puritanical bullshit views. And like, oh, well, you have to have a mom and a dad and then you'll be successful. As if that has any correlation to reality is insane.
Yeah, that's really dumb. There were these people that had these kids, right?
Cool story, bro. Tell me more.
I'm just saying, do you know how many parents have been killed by their own children?
Did not expect that to be where you went with that. Holy fuck.
I'm just saying, these are 2-parent households, straight, good Christian parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, and their kids fucking kill them.
Just knife them.
Just shoot them. Blow their fucking brains out.
That happens all the time.
Then they had this stable home. Good families. Sometimes they didn't. But I'm just saying, like, you know, I guess what I'm trying to say is kids are dicks.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Oh, yeah. But, like, I don't get it. And like what sucks about it is that when you look at it through the lens of like of cultural relativism, when you look at it through the lens of like, you know, oh well, this is their culture and it's okay, this puritanical nonsense, it's like it stunts so many things. That's what I was saying. It's the paradox is that you have to give people leeway to live their own way and live their own life. You have to give cultures leeway to have their own thing going on and have their own beliefs and ideals and values. And like, you can't come in here and be like, no, my way is the best way. And if you don't do it this way, not only is that fucking stupid because you assume you know everything, but also you're going to miss out on so many cool, interesting new experiences and knowledge.
Right. But I think, what you're also saying,
you have to be able to draw a line somewhere.
And like, you have to be able to at least like question.
Yeah.
Like it comes back to being able to question.
And for me, the line of like what makes sense as a culture is data, is evidence, is science. It's like it's human well-being. What's the best thing for human well-being? I'm not talking
for some people it's the book of fucking jerky.
Right. The book of jerky works for you, man. And I don't agree with it. I think that you should at least wait and see if somebody wants to have their own dick cut and not be like, this beautiful newborn baby, he's been in the world for 35 seconds. Yeah. Cut his dick.
I think if we start letting the people grow up and then decide, it'll just eventually go away. Yeah. Because eventually people will be like, there'll be enough people that are 20 or so years old that are like, I don't want my dick cut.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's how I feel about
I'm fine without it being cut.
That's how I feel about circumcision. That's how I feel about religion. That's how I feel about so many things. If you stopped forcing it on children and let people decide if they want to do it at like 18 years old when they've had time to think about it, it would fucking be gone in 2 generations. Be done. Like the only reason that it's the case is because it's forced. And like it's really tough because
it should be done in extreme cases.
Well, like so Sam Harris. I don't know if we talked about this or not recently, but like Sam Harris is one of my favorite neuroscientists, and he was talking. He wrote about this in one of his books, and I know he's talked about this on like a TED Talk as well, where he went to a conference about ethics and whatnot, and he was talking about exactly this. And he said, we can objectively say that there are good things for human beings. And this
I listened to that talk.
This woman who was at the time on like the President's Council for like bioethics or some shit was like, you can never say that somebody's culture is wrong, and you can never. And he was like, okay, what if there were people that every third child that was born, they plucked their eyes out at birth? What if that was a thing? What if there was this culture of people, every third baby gets fucking have their eyes gouged out immediately? And she was like, well, why were they doing it? And he's like, why the fuck are you asking me that? But just to answer your question, let's say that they have some holy book that says like every third must walk in darkness or something like that. And she's like, well, then you could never say that they were wrong. And he's like, you're fucking... And I agree. That's insane. That makes no sense. You are literally just mutilating a child because you have a book that says so. And the rest of the world can agree that, hey, having eyes is probably the best way to live.
Yeah, we can all look at the book and go, all right, I see your book.
That is what it says.
Yep, but it's 2021.
And here in Spider-Man, it says some other shit. And like, this is a different book that says this thing. And like, I believe in Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. I'm going to teach that to my kid. And you can't say I'm wrong. Keep blinding your children, you fuck. But like, that's the thing, is that we should be able to come to an agreement that this is bad for like human well-being. And therefore, we shouldn't do it. And I'm not talking like utilitarianism, like the best for most people.
But people who say you can never fucking judge another culture like that, if they really start to, like, if you examine your own logic for 5 seconds, you're going to realize that you have a very big problem.
Yeah.
Because you're not allowed to look at something and analyze it and make some sort of judgment about it. Then how the fuck are you going to understand the world?
What if you walked...
in any capacity?
What if you visited another culture and they're like, hey, your hair color's illegal here, we're going to kill you now. And you're like, that's your culture, though.
What if?
Like, just,
yeah, what if that was a thing?
There are like over a dozen nations in this world where I would be put to death on sight if I visited because I'm an atheist. There are like dozens of nations where not believing in God is a death sentence. Am I gonna sit here and be like, oh well, you know what? Everybody's equal and it should all be cool? No, I can say, hey, that's really fucking dumb and bad for me specifically. I shouldn't, like we probably shouldn't be doing that. Like, that's not crazy. I've been called a racist before because I insisted that we, as a human population, as like a civilization of humans, we should be working really hard to make sure that like everybody has clean drinking water and food and stuff, and like we should be fighting to end poverty and hunger and stuff. I have been called a racist because I'm taking away someone's culture by making sure that they have clean drinking water, and I'm a white savior and all this stuff. I'm like, no, if someone's baby is dying of dehydration, I don't think they care what my skin color is if I have a bottle of fucking Dasani.
No,
like,
you're a white savior if you go take like pictures of it,
yeah,
and post it to Snapchat. That's what that terminology means.
There is such a thing as white saviorism. I agree, but what I'm saying is that I have been accused of that just for saying that places where there isn't clean water should be like industrialized to the point where they have clean water. We should make sure that everybody has food, water, medicine, shelter, healthcare. And like, we should make sure everybody's on the same page here. And like, that has been triggering for liberals before that talk to me.
Yeah, well, people are confused about very many things.
That's a great way to summarize it.
Well, because I think if you're fucking the one who needs the water, you would probably just be upset that we even are having a conversation like this.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, so they're arguing about whether or not I want the water.
Yeah.
Great.
I would also like the water. While you can argue about whether or not it was good to give it to me after you give it to me if you'd like.
Yeah. They just need clean water. People people in, like I don't know, like really crazy places, like maybe there's places you haven't even heard of, like
it's just horrible third world countries.
Flint.
yeah.
Fucking
these insane developing nations like Flint,
Michigan.
Fucking Michigan.
So they also
still don't have clean water, y'all. They still don't have clean water.
So like, I think I see what you're saying though. I guess I've never had anybody come at me like that.
Well, and like it's an anecdotal thing. Like obviously, not everybody's represented.
No, I just don't really. I don't really talk about stuff like that. But obviously, if I ever became like vastly wealthy or something, I'm sure one of the many things I would try to do is like bring water to as many places.
Yeah,
as possible.
It'd be a pretty rad project, right?
Food. Yeah, I would be like, wow, I have so much money. I need to.
I'm going to make sure that other people can continue being people
alive.
Yeah,
can continue to live.
We'll just make sure that life keeps happening with my money that I have.
Well, I think a lot of people can't even understand that concept. They think about it because they think about stuff so economically because we live in this capitalism that we got going on.
Yeah.
And so they don't think about, when they think about like so they're like, oh, well, like that should be taken care of by charities and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, maybe it should, but there's not enough charity going around.
Well, that's what was during the Great Depression. I'm pretty sure that's what Hoover said, was that like, because everyone's like, hey, the government needs to step in and make sure that, we all have money and food and shit. And he was like, that's why you have churches and charities. Don't come to the government for this. We don't, and like that's clearly didn't work out very well.
Yeah, back then they didn't do it.
Yeah. And now we have...
I think government needs to be adaptive.
Oh gosh, we
that's
go on
what
that for a long time.
I think government needs to be able to change. I also fucking hate the presidential system, and I think we need to have a tribunal. But that's some ridiculous bullshit I'm on. I think you have 3 or more people up at the very top that have to agree together to make decisions.
No, like a oligarchy kind of thing. Like we have like a little the high council.
Just some people, like, I just don't think the president should be like one guy. I feel like there should be like 2 or 3 people up at the top that have to talk to each other and have to like make decisions together.
You think like something like the Supreme Court?
And they should fucking hate each other's guts.
Yeah. But there should be an odd number of them to make sure that there's never
You got to have a guy in the middle. That's
Yeah.
why it's a tribunal, because it's the way my simple brain wants it to be. My simple brain is, why not 3 people? There's fucking 3 presidents, and one of them's a fucking angry red guy, and one's a stupid whiny blue guy, and one's a dude in the middle. He's kind of like, I don't know, man. And you put them all in a fucking room together, and they have to fucking make legislation.
That can only go well.
They have to make legislation for 4 years, or if they don't make enough good legislation and there's not enough, I don't know, like jobs and stuff or whatever we want, then when they come out of the room, they don't get any food. They have to live in the woods and hunt.
I think that, like, number one, I think that we've talked about this, that any legislator should never make more than like the median household income of where they are. Because even if you do like the average household income of America includes the billionaires. And so it's like insanely higher than actually what it is. And so it should be like the median, maybe, household income.
Here's the problem with that.
What?
Why that won't work, at least right now.
Why?
Because most of the people who are elected into office already have money. They already come from a family that owns a business.
Right. No, but that's what I'm saying. I think that if you're going to be a public servant, you should be completely into it. I think that you should be, for your term.
Yeah.
For the term you have, you live on, for me, I'm saying the median income because that's the least radical way I can take it. Personally, I think that you should live like the poorest live. I think that you should live on whatever you give welfare recipients. If you were a public servant, if you were running for office, you should completely, all of your assets are frozen. You live on welfare now. And if you don't take care of the poorest people in this country, then you aren't taken care of either. Because that's the thing. There is, like, people talk all the time about, like...
So if you do the asset freezing, then it makes sense. But without that, it doesn't work.
Right. But that's why it's so important. Because people all the time are talking about, like, oh, well, it's, we got to do what's good for business. And I'm like, who runs the business? It's fucking Bezos and Gates and Warren Buffett and all these people. It's these billionaires. Those are the people you're taking care of. You will never, ever have $1 billion. You might have $1 million, maybe if you're insanely lucky, but chances are if you're over 30 years old, if you were going to have $1 million, you'd have it by now. Like
fuck you, I'm going to get $1 million.
Right. You're never, ever going to have $1 billion unless you were born with it or it's not going to happen. So just get that fucking out of your head. It's like winning the lottery. To even say that you could is so close to not reality that it's basically a fucking lie. Of course you could. The Earth could fucking fly off into space because the sun got nuked by a fucking meteor and the fucking dinosaurs come back. It could happen. It's not going to fucking happen. So you're not going to do it. So when you try to fucking make policies... Right? When you make policies for billionaires and the 99% of us, the people down here on the bottom, are like, yeah, no, we got to take care of those billionaires... You're not doing dick. If you make legislation to help the poor, you are helping yourself because you're poor, motherfucker. I don't care if you make $200,000 a year. You're fucking poor in this country compared to the people that our politicians are working for. Like, how is... there's so many more of us than there are of them. And the whole point of politics in this country is to tell people who make $50,000 a year that the people who make $12,000 a year are greedy assholes that are trying to take your $50,000 a year, while the people who literally make your life's worth in a day are fucking buying caviar for those politicians to tell you that. That's the whole thing. And we like, taxes is a great example. Do you know that Intuit and H&R Block and shit, these tech companies that you have to pay them to do your taxes, they pay politicians so much money to make your taxes as difficult as possible? This is one example. There's an uncountable amount of examples like this. But, like, the government already knows how much you make. They know how much you have in the bank. Literally, other countries, they just send you a letter like, hey, your taxes are this. And you go, okay. And you sign it and you send it back. And that's the whole process. we are the only fucking country where you have this, like, month-long process of having to collect all your receipts for the year and put them all... And it's because companies that do that for you and make money have paid politicians to have that happen. And there's actually a word for this. In science, we have a word for this system. It's called corruption. And, like, it's fucking...
The thing is, that's how everything works here, though.
Yeah! That's how the whole fucking place works.
That's how everything works. It's all just, like, perpetuated by lobbyists.
Yes!
So here's the thing. They're technically right, Forrest. If they get rid of any of this shit, oh, nobody has a job.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, oh my God, the economy will collapse.
If we quit doing all the made-up bullshit, we'll die.
Mm-hmm. It's so stupid. God, it's so stupid.
How do you fix that? So how... Man, is there a right or a wrong way to live?
That's what it's funny. What I keep actually realizing is that it is what we've been talking about.
Because I'm gonna die.
We're very on topic today.
Because I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
I hate to throw that out there. I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna die someday.
Only you, though.
Yeah, but especially me. To me, it is especially me.
Right.
Right? So, like, it is. Like, as much as I love everyone else, like, fuck, you know? Like, eventually I won't be around. And, like, what that has implications from myself.
Especially.
So, what, yeah, like...
But not really, though.
But so
once
do
you're
I
dead,
want
you're
to...
not
So,
gonna care.
yeah, but I care right now. Do I want to spend all my life doing a bunch of shit I don't give a fuck about?
Right.
Do I?
Right.
Do I want to, like... What it's... And you... It really is true. You don't think about this shit. You think about this stuff more and more as you get older. But like,
I'd rather be.
What do I want to spend my time doing?
I'd rather be poor and happy than rich and miserable. You know what I mean?
I don't care. Yeah,
just
I want to
work
be
my ass off.
I just want to be happy, and I want to have food.
Yeah.
And I want my kids to not be poor.
You can't have food and freedom at the same time. That's socialism. You can't.
Well, you can, but you have to spend most of your freedom working for the food.
It's so stupid. It's so stupid. Like that, and that's what gets me, is that, like, we were talking about, like, you know, if we had money...
To really get ahead, you have to work 10 times harder than anybody else. That's the truth.
And then it's still...
To get ahead, I'm just saying ahead, I'm not saying rich, I'm saying ahead.
Yeah.
To get ahead...
Yeah.
You have to fucking work 10 times harder than any other person, like any normal average person.
But
right?
what sucks about it is that
why is it like that?
That's not even usually true anymore in this day and age. Like millennials, our generation.
When I say work 10 times harder, I don't mean like physical labor.
No, I know what you mean.
I mean like you have to be on
the grind. Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
But like millennials, our generation, are the highest educated and lowest paid generation in American history.
I'm not talking about education either.
No, well, that's the thing, though. That's what was put on us. Is go to school, get your degree, get a good paying job.
We are overburdened with degrees. Not myself personally, but my generation.
Yes.
Yeah, like, I can't tell you how many people I know who have degrees that aren't doing anything.
My fucking grandma, until the day she died, could not understand why my life was any kind of hard. She's like, well, when I got my doctorate, it took me like a year and a half, and it cost me like, I just worked over the summer and paid it off. And I'm like, no, Grandma, look. And I literally pulled up the 3 major universities around me, and I was like, a semester's tuition is what I make in a year. And she was like, that's not right. They're making that up. I'm like, yes, they're making that up. That's the problem, is that they're making this up. It's insane. And with the minimum wage stagnating right now, CEO pay is gone up like 3,000% in the same time that, like, the cost of living has gone up 300%, and the minimum wage has not changed at all. And they're like, just get a better job. How? I don't feel like people understand that you can be too poor to not be poor anymore. How are you going to get another job when you can't afford a nice suit for an interview, or a car to get there, or a cell phone to take the call? You need a bank account to deposit your checks in. You can't get a bank account without an address. If you're homeless, you're fucked. How do you just go? And then they're like, well, that's why these jobs are there. These low income, minimum wage, entry level jobs are there to incentivize you to get better. So what you're saying is, I understand this job needs to be done. I just think that the person doing it needs to be impoverished. Whoever does this job really needs to not have food. That's the best way for my society to run, is for whoever is here at McDonald's can't afford rent. That's the only way that that this whole thing works. I don't fucking get it.
And they're like, oh, well, they have to work ridiculous hours. And then they're like, oh, well, if you raise minimum wage, then they're going to lower the hours of all the workers, which is true, which is what they did. When they raised minimum wage, because I just entered the workforce when I was 19 in like 2011, 2010. Like officially entered. I had jobs before that, but like working like a real job. At a grocery store, but working in the meat department, right? So like as a butcher, I was trying to get going, trying to do a career over there. So fucking like minimum wage had just gone up to like $7.25 here, I think. $7.25 or $7.50.
The minimum wage is $7.25 federally. I don't know if like you're talking about Oklahoma and specifically like what they're doing, but
it was Oklahoma, and it was also in 2011, so it might have been even less. No, it wasn't that high.
Minimum wage hasn't changed in like 30 years.
They raised it. They raised it from $6.25
in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Oh no, I think you are right. I think I got to confuse something else. Go on. I'm sorry. I'll look it up later to figure out.
It's like $7.25.
It is $7.25.
Big fucking whoop.
Yeah.
Because then that's the thing. Is like you can't really do anything with that. So when they did, but my point originally though was whenever they did that, when it got raised, out of nowhere, all of a sudden, every job I had since then, like there was especially big companies like corporate jobs, full time went from being considered 40 hours a week to 32, because that's the federally the federal regulation, and if you got anywhere near overtime, you would get like written up.
Yeah, because they didn't want to pay out,
and then so like, but I would constantly be put in situations by my managers and shit where I was like I would have to be there. I would get overtime hours,
but
I'd clock more than 40. No, I got paid and I got in trouble. Legally, they have to pay you. So the company's going to pay you, but then the company's like, why are you working overtime? And it's like,
you fucking made me. Yeah.
Because I have to. And they're like, well, we'll talk to your boss. And they talk to your boss, and then your boss still fucks up the schedule. So like, it doesn't matter. And like, that happened to me a lot, where it was just a clusterfuck. And they throw you under the bus because you're just an employee. You're not like a manager or something.
Well, and that's what I don't think, like...
They expect you to get twice as much work done in half as much time.
Yeah.
And it's like, how nobody can do that. And so, like, they do these things to cut corners, and they cut companies cut corners because they need to increase profits, and they need to increase the margin, and they got to increase the bottom line because they have to benefit the fucking everyone. They have to benefit the stockholders and shit.
Like after the Affordable Care Act was passed, and all of a sudden everybody was working 39 hours a week, so you're technically not full time, so they technically don't have to pay for your insurance and shit like that. And like, it just that's what I think is so fucking shitty. Even the argument where people are like, well, if we raise minimum wage, all the prices are going to go up and the businesses are going to collapse. Like, so you agree that the businesses are the problem then? Because that's what you're saying, is if we raise minimum wage, the businesses are all going to fuck other employees. Right. Because they're fucking evil, and that's the point of it. That's what we're all saying, is that we need to make it so that employees, workers, are treated like human fucking beings, that they have enough money to eat, and that they have like rights and like they're treated well in their employ. And they're like, no, if we make the businesses treat us like humans, they won't treat us like humans. And we're like, that you're right there. You're right there. I swear to God, at seeing them as the fucking bourgeoisie scum that they are.
Businesses are never going to treat you like humans.
That's the problem.
Because they're businesses.
They're
not in the human business, they're in the money business.
Ah, that's the issue. Is like, if your job is like, we're a family here. We really, we're all real family. And that means that you need to work off the clock a lot because we're a family here, And like, we really need somebody who is diverse in their skills and is able to handle a lot, which means we're going to have you do 15 jobs and only pay you for one. And like, like when they put this bullshit out there, like, we should be allowed to fucking walk away from that. That shouldn't be the norm. That shouldn't be just how things are. You know?
But that takes away from the argument. And I'm not even necessarily disagreeing with you, but that takes away from the argument. I think that people have to be paid a fair wage because it's like you're like yeah, yes, they should be allowed to walk away. They should be allowed to go on strike if that's what you mean. But like some people can't walk away from the $8 job.
Right.
$8 job, $8 an hour job.
Yeah.
$8 job is a different profession. Call me. No. But it's just one of those, like, it's, some people can't leave the job they're at. Because that's an argument I really get tired of hearing is, like, find a better job.
Right. Like, it's so fucking easy. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, well, people are trying, but, like,
yeah.
No. Like, if you have a job, that's, you're fortunate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. The jobs are barely out there because the economy sucks. People don't want to hire. They don't want to pay very well when they do hire. There's no benefits.
And there's two sides. Like, I keep hearing about, like, I don't know. Like, people are saying, like who doesn't want to work?
I've literally met homeless people with master's degrees.
That's crazy to me.
And it's like you can say it's anecdotal evidence and maybe this person was an addict or did this, that, and that thing. Like, sure, whatever. But, like, the fact of the matter is that shouldn't be real. You know what I saw? I was going to make a video about this on TikTok, and I'm going to do it later because I didn't want to make, like, 3 videos in a row bitching because my last 2 videos were bitching. And, but it was a video of a homeless man sitting on the sidewalk, leaning up against a building with a cup of change and a sign, all the whole 9 yards. And a Postmates robot was driving by and had to, like, maneuver around him. It's a fucking robot full of food that is self-driving itself with GPS to someone's apartment to deliver food that they ordered on their cell phone. And it had to maneuver around a homeless man begging for change to get a hot dog and shit. That's the fucking culture we live in, is where fucking food robots have to stumble past the homeless. And I'm like, where the fuck are our priorities? What is this? Where we have robots on Mars, where we have fucking vaccines, where we have airplanes, and we're still fucking having people struggling for food and water and shelter and equal rights and healthcare.
I mean, I agree with you, but I guess I have a degree of hopelessness where it's like I don't know what you're supposed to do about all that, because that is in fact the very disturbing reality that we live in. We can agree that there is a right way to live, and this isn't it, is what we can do. Because, like, my thing is, and we touched on this a minute ago. But it is the way we live. Yeah, there's lots of ways, like, you can live. But how do you change it? What I'm saying is that there are such things as right and wrong answers, objectively right and wrong answers about human well-being. Not talking about morals, not talking about ethics, not talking about politics. We can get all into that. I'm saying I know for sure that person living there on the street begging for money, the way that person is living is not the exemplary, like, model of the best life for a human being. We can all agree. You can say, oh, he's happier without possessions or whatever. Fuck all that. I'm just saying, living on the street, begging for change is not the optimal way for humans to be happy and safe and free and comfortable and blah, blah. And alternatively, I can say that having enough food is a good way to live as a human. Yes. So, like, if I were to say to you, apples are good to eat and rat poison will kill you, there's a lot of... Apples aren't the only good food. If you eat too many apples, you'll die. 1 or 2 chemicals in the apple could be poisonous by themselves.
If you build up tolerance to rat poison, it'd be okay. Just a small amount really won't kill you. Well, what about we take venom from snakes and make medicine out of that? So it's not really all poison. I'm just saying, apples are good. Poison is bad. We can get into all the bullshit. I'm just saying, there is a right and a wrong answer. If I say you get to pick a thing to eat, is it an apple or a rat poison? Which is the right, you know what I'm saying? There are right and wrong ways for a human being to achieve well-being. For a human life to occur, there's right and wrong ways, objectively. And the second that we can admit that, I think that changes the way that we should think about these questions. Is that, like, if there is an objectively right way for humans to be well, for like, if there is, this is objectively suffering and this is objectively happiness. I try not to use the word happiness because that's very subjective. I just mean like health. Like, we should be able to draw these lines and say, like, okay, we're going to make sure everybody has a house, an enclosed space. Because we can all agree that while some people do like to live outside, it is better when people have shelter, objectively. We're going to make sure everybody has clean drinking water. Because while some fucking smooth brains out there like to push raw water and shit, they shouldn't have to. It's better when humans drink clean water, so we're going to make sure everybody has it. We're going to make sure everybody has food. We can't really ship food out to everybody, so we're just going to make sure everybody has enough money to buy the food. Universal basic income. We can all agree that while some people prefer to live off the grid...
Now you're fucked.
Yeah, no,
you just
I'm going.
brought up UBI.
Yeah.
Fucked.
While some people prefer to live off the grid, we can all agree that if you have, like, at least, say, $1,500 a month, you're going to be objectively better off in a society where things cost money. That's not to say that this billionaire and this homeless person are now on equal playing field. We just know for sure that neither one of them are going to starve to death.
What you're saying is we should make life free to play, but still have heavy microtransactions.
Exactly. That is precisely what I'm saying, and that is the best way you could have fucking summarized it.
Right, yeah.
If I am
because people
struggling,
still need to get paid, right?
Yeah.
But...
Yeah. I still need a job. I can't live off $1,500 a month and live my best life. I can't do everything that I want to do, but I won't fucking starve to death. I will now use my time and effort that I would have spent making sure that I have a house and food on becoming a better scientist, on building better jet engines, on curing cancer, on fucking doing all sorts of cool shit, because I'm not worried about will I feed my children today.
And I've already said multiple times that I think we should just start calling money points. Credits, whatever you want.
Tokens.
And that's fine. And I think everybody should just get 100 points a month or 1,000 points. Probably
Bitcoin,
need 1,000.
Yo. It's all about Bitcoin.
Not really. It's about, right now, Bitcoin is having a hard time. It's all crypto, though.
Yeah.
I don't know if you invest in any. I don't want to sidetrack the conversation into crypto. But
I am learning,
crypto, but it's all very down right now.
I am actively learning how cryptocurrency works.
I just have a few things and I'm holding it. I don't really know how. I know something. I understand a little bit about like how the blockchain works and stuff, but it's all really.
I'm trying to understand because it's
I'm
very
not
alien
a developer.
I was around when it was invented, and I didn't think it was going to become as big as it is. And now I'm kind of past the point where I should have been catching up and should have been paying attention. So I'm just trying to like learn. You know what I mean? But it's not anything that I would have.
It's very interesting, and I think it's definitely going to play.
Oh, it's fascinating.
Heavily into
it's
the
fascinating.
Future. The
I just don't have
like,
the time to.
It's going to be part of the future of wealth,
right?
And wealth redistribution. Really, if you want to be fucking real about it,
yeah.
The problem with that is like I wish there was some way to get some sort of like voluntary redistribution, and I don't know how that's possible.
Yeah.
Ideally, in a perfect world, you would be able to come to these people who have all this money, and you'd be able to say like, "Hey, how can we get you to contribute some more to the well-being of everybody? Like, what could we do to work together to achieve this goal?" I don't know if that's a possibility or not in real life, or if you just kind of have to twist their arm and be like, "I'm not saying you hurt them. I'm just saying you say, hey, look, we've all decided you're gonna do a little more."
Yeah.
So technically they can't say anything about it. People make up all these fucking things, but they can't really, like, at the end of the day, they have to deal with it. That's what they did during fucking World War II when taxes were what, like, fucking...
Oh, dude, when FDR was in office,
Like,
the tax rate on, like, the, like, upper, like, brackets was damn near 100%. It was like, you're allowed to make $200,000. Literally everything you make after that goes to the government, every single cent. And, like, I think the compromise they came up to was, like, in the high 90s. It was insane.
Yeah, like...
And, like, you notice that the economy not only didn't collapse, we also didn't become a socialist country, and we had the biggest fucking prosperity, economic growth, social welfare, like, justice, like... Everything got better very fast.
I don't even think you have to
It's when we built all the highways and bridges and schools and libraries and then all the boomers got to fucking buy houses for fucking 28 cents and everything was great because fucking you didn't have people sitting on literally more money than they could possibly spend. Like, that's what I don't fucking get, is we have people living in this country that literally make more than 99% of us will make in our entire lives combined in a day. Literally. Jeff Bezos makes more than I make in a year in an hour. Are you fucking kidding me? There is no way that you can tell me, like, oh, you should look up to this person. You should just try to be more like them. First of all, he was rich as fuck to begin with. And second of all, I would never, ever, I couldn't live with myself that way. You cannot live that. You can't get that rich without exploiting people.
Yeah, no, it's like people don't understand. Like, yeah, it does take something to become a CEO.
He doesn't fucking work for that.
Bored into it.
You really think...
And then they don't realize that rich people pass companies around like fucking trading cards.
Yes! You fucking work at...
like, you have no idea.
You work at whatever your job is. Making, like, say, $20 an hour. Working hard, doing whatever. Do you think, really, you working hard and you say you're a landscaper, whatever the fuck you do, and you make X amount of dollars, do you think that your hard work is worth that much money per hour? And then you think Jeff fucking Bezos is doing... and proportionally more work than you are doing at this moment to earn that much money. If you lift a brick that's £1 and that earns you $7, Jeff Bezos would have to fucking move the planet to get the money he's making in an hour. Like, do you really think these CEOs are doing a proportionately as much work as what they're earning? Really? No, they're exploiting the fuck out of people. They're refusing to give people health care. They're refusing to give people a living wage. They're refusing to give people any kind of benefits, vacation day, paternity leave, maternity leave, anything, so that they can continue doing what they're doing. Like, why do people idolize that? I don't fucking get it.
Whoa.
Why do people look up to that?
There's a lot of... because it can happen to them. It could happen to me, Forrest.
No, it fucking can't.
It could happen to me, Forrest. Come on, buddy.
Somebody has to win the lottery. Somebody has to be a billionaire.
If I work hard enough, Forrest, I can do it. If I save up enough money.
Oh, yeah.
If I work enough hours.
If you saved...
If I'm smart enough with my plans. If I make zero mistakes, I might... be able to buy a house one day.
I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head in this. There was a guy, he got really big on, I think he was on YouTube first, and then he got on TikTok and did the same demonstration, where he took rice. And he said,
I saw it.
Yeah, each grain of rice is worth like $1 million.
If you haven't seen it, you should watch it.
Yeah, I'll explain it so people do. Like, he said, like something along the lines of like each grain of rice is worth $1,000 or like 100,000. It was some insane number. And so he's like, here's what the average person has, and it was like 3 grains of rice in a little pile. And he's like, here's what the modern like CEO of whatever company has. And it was like a solid little like a couple of grams of rice. Like it was like enough to fit in your palm.
This is a good amount.
And then he was like, here's Jeff Bezos. And it was like a fucking 10-pound pile of fucking rice.
Yeah.
Like a mountain of rice. And he's like, here, and he like set aside like a handful, is like, here is as much as it would take to end world hunger. And the mountain didn't change at all. It was just this little handful out of it. And like, and I'm not just picking just on Bezos. He happens to be the richest dude in the world right now, and that's like why he comes to mind. There's so many people like him. And what gets me is the amount of people that idolize that. And they're like, yeah, I could have that and I could do whatever I want. And I'm like, why is that your desire? To be able to do whatever you want? Why is your desire not... And I'm not saying like completely selfish. You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying like I would... If I had an unlimited amount of money...
Everybody wants to be able to do whatever they want.
Right. If I had an unlimited amount of money...
That's the American lie we've been told since birth. Is that this is American exceptionalism. Become who you want to become.
Yeah,
do what you want to do. You can be anything.
I'm not saying that there's no room for luxury. If I had an unlimited amount of money, you know, I would be able to... I wouldn't be struggling right now to pay the registration on my car. You know what I mean? I would have a decent thing. I would not want a fucking Bugatti or whatever the new things are. They
I woke up in a new Bugatti.
But like, I don't understand why that's idolized. And I don't understand why that's perceived as a virtue. And I don't understand why it's perceived as like necessary or good. Like, it's not a good thing at all to have billionaires in a society. Especially, you can even stretch that. I'll even be more specific because that's my personal opinion there. But like, I can even make it more definable. There's no way that we can justify having billionaires in a society where we also have homeless people at all, where we have homeless children, where we have starving people, where we have like any problems at all. If there are any problems at all that have to do with money, then this shit, I think, can be called evil. You know what I mean? Like, that's... There are 14,000 homeless children in Oklahoma.
My biggest question, too, though, is that, like, why do you even need the money from the rich people when money doesn't even exist?
Because we've decided that it does.
Why can't we just fucking do what's right because it's right?
Right. Because we've all decided that money is the thing. And I get it. Like, we talked about that a little while ago. I understand the concept of currency. I'm not out here saying money's completely worthless and pointless and we should just do...
Well, then they gotta pay more taxes. That's it. It's the only thing you can do.
Imagine that.
The only thing you can do is tax them more.
If Jeff Bezos paid the same percentage of taxes that I paid, we wouldn't have fucking crumbling roads and bridges and poverty and shit. That wouldn't be the thing. It's because he does not that we have these problems. Like, that's...
fucking Bowser Revolution in Mario Party?
Yeah. It'd be fucking rad. Just distributed evenly and everybody starts from the same point. That'd be sick.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But like, and that's the thing, is you have people that are like when we're talking about raising taxes on the 1%, and we're like, hey, we're going to tax the top 1% of people like 0.1% more. And fucking people here where I live in Oklahoma, people like you and me, Ben, people who make less than $100,000, I make less than I don't make a lot of money, right? People who make under $20,000 a year like us are down here being like, you can't raise taxes. That'll hurt me. I don't want to pay more taxes. Did you hear what the fuck they said? They said the top earners in America. That ain't you, Chief. Unless you add fucking 12 zeros to your bank account, you don't have to worry about any of this.
At which point, you should be fine.
You would be fine paying this amount. That's why I have a problem with the fucking flat tax. As so many people out here, I've met so many fucking people. They're like, we should just all pay the same percent. We should just all pay the same taxes. Okay, fucking dipshit. Think about this. Say you have $100, and I take 10% of it. That's $10. You now have $90. That's a huge difference for you. That's huge. You now have a lot less. If you have $1 million and I take 10% of it, you now have $100,000. You're fine. You can do whatever you want for a year. That's a lot of fucking money. If I leave you with $90 versus $100,000, there's a big fucking difference. So, like, yeah, there needs to be a progressive tax. People just need to fucking pay it when they're wealthy. Ugh. It's so dumb that these are the issues we're having when we literally just flew a helicopter on Mars. How the fuck do we have hungry children when we just fucking put a robot on Mars? Oh my God. Oh, this is
You
why.
Minute Man, are you okay?
No, I'm not. Here's the thing, man.
They're killing the kids.
I just like
Killing a lot of kids.
the problem that I have. We're talking about, is there a right way to live, right? Is
there a right way to exploit other populations for your own personal gain?
Let's say that we could figure it out, right? Let's say that we could say for sure.
We're trying. That's
right?
what we're doing. I don't know if we're going to get there, but we are. We're working on it.
Let's say that we could say for sure that like we have this is the right way to be, right? Or at least we have a really good idea. It's better than anything else, right? If we could implement it worldwide, right? Some sort of one world government that controls everything, and it now everybody's okay.
Oh shit. He said the thing.
Right? The issue that I would have is that now there's nothing really keeping that in check. One cool thing about having different governments in this world is that we can fucking go over and be like, hey, you're going to stop doing this shit now. Which we should do more, I think. I'm not for war, but like if I could make a case for war, we're
not fighting in any of the places that we could actually
be doing
like,
good.
Yeah, like helping people.
There are historians that argue that like the reason America didn't get into World War II is because we really didn't know for sure what the Nazis were doing, which is fucking bullshit. But like, there are people who are like, well, America's a good place, and if we really knew what was going on over there, we would have intervened earlier. Okay, we have fucking satellite images of what North Korea is doing to their people. We have fucking like pictures of the concentration camps and the torture and shit. We know what's happening. The only reason we're not doing anything is because China likes them and we owe those guys a lot of money and we just don't want to. So it's kind of just business, It's like, well, we could go and give everybody food, but what's that going to cost? Who's going to pay for, if everybody has healthcare, who's going to pay for that? So we're in this fucking dumbass, backwards, fucking trading rocks like dumb monkey system where we're like, oh, well, I have these rocks, so you can't have food. It's so stupid. That's the one thing that I have that I'm cool with, like, multiple governments, is that, like, in an ideal situation, we would be able to say, hey, we see that you're, like, murdering people for being homosexual. You're going to stop. Or we're going to make sure that you don't get to do that anymore. We're going to take your toys away. And those toys are like your guns and power. And like, that's a cool thing that could happen if we have multiple civilizations that are like moral and good and not just interested in money and fucking stupid rocks.
Also, there's times in that type of society where I would think you would have to have like some really fucking intense military action.
Oh, for sure. And the argument that could be made against my point that's very obvious is, well, also they could do that to you and say, hey, you're not killing gay people, we're going to come fight you until you do. And like, I get that. The whole point is that I'm sitting on a moral high ground here.
That's also, I guess, technically that's kind of how it's been working out for like the last, I don't know, like
millennia or two. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That has been the whole point of international relations. That's been the whole point of war. What I'm saying is that's why I understand and why I'm cool with having multiple governments.
And
otherwise,
other, like monetary reasons and things like that.
If I could ensure that the government would be good, if I could ensure that the government would not be corrupt and would actually be working for the best interest of all humanity, I would be super into just having one government that just ran everything.
I think someday that's a thing.
Someday, if we could just actually make a thing that was like,
I think we'll spread so far and wide at some point that
it'll be necessary.
It won't make sense for us to not.
We'll have a planetary government instead of a country government, and we'll have multiple planets.
You'll still have countries. You'll still have countries. Like individual nation states will exist, but the things like the UN will be much more complex and also much more simple in a lot of ways. Because they will actually have power.
Right.
Like to do things, and we'll all be cool with it. And it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that we're just gonna. That's coming up eventually. I don't know if we'll see it in our lifetime, but it's kind of like a Star Trek futuristic, like.
It's part of my life plan.
Futuristic look.
You wanna try again?
I just had a stroke. Holy shit!
It's like. It is part of my life goal, if I can be honest, to like make humans into a spacefaring nation, to unite the world into like human values and rights.
No,
I know that
he's over here playing Civ 5.
Right.
Fucking
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not saying just me. I don't think I'm fucking gonna come in here like the fucking Messiah. I'm saying that like I want to be a part of that change. I think that with as fast as information is spreading and as fast as technology is advancing, we're at a point where we can actually have that global conversation, or we're very close to it. And like, I would like to.
That's gonna be so messy, though.
I would like to be at the forefront of that as much as I can and help lead the conversation, even if people don't like my ideas. I want to be a part of the conversation and like help push that conversation along and say, okay, we need to figure out what's actually best for all humans, not just Americans, not just your race, not just your orientation, not just your religion, but what is actually in the best interest of all human beings. We are now all as a species going to work on this, and nothing else is going to get done until everybody has fucking food, and then we're going to move forward from there. And one of the big things is that we need a lot more energy for that. A lot more, because if everybody used resources and energy the way that America did, we need 2 more planets. Like, it's not going to happen. And
we're also using the wrong resources.
Right, exactly.
And we're not developing the right technologies.
Because fucking for the past several thousand years, the only way that humans have made energy is by taking something out of the ground and setting it on fire. That's all we've been able to do. Now we're starting to get solar and wind and geothermal and shit. But up until now, it's been coal, it's been wood, it's been natural gas, we took this out of the ground and we set it on fire and now we have it. Even fucking nuclear, really. We took uranium and we made it explode. That's all we did. Like, so we are now kind of getting into this era where we can do more things. I'm big on... Have I ever told you my plan?
I am
my big plan.
Somewhat familiar with the big plan.
We talked about talking about it, but I don't know if we've ever actually talked about it.
It's terrifying.
It's brilliant.
It's brilliantly terrifying.
So here's the thing, okay? Here's one thing.
Tell them what you're going to do. Lay it all out.
All right. Because we have like 2 minutes left.
We have enough time for you to get into the
all right. Here we go.
Subtle explanation of your fucking plan.
Well, because last time I got real cringy and talked about what my last name means. And like, I invite anybody who believes in these ideas.
That was a super cringy fucking moment.
It was.
But nobody understands why it's cringy except for maybe like you.
Well, yeah, but like what
I know because you explained it to me.
I'm telling people that like you can choose your own destiny, and that's
also life is cringe.
Yeah, it is. But like for me personally, like my plan is what I want to do when I rise to power.
Tell them about it.
Is fucking like we need a lot more energy. So here's what we do: we get like if you know what a Dyson sphere is, right?
Yes, of course.
Yeah,
but the audience might not know.
So a Dyson sphere.
Do they even know what a megastructure is?
Right. So a Dyson sphere is a megastructure. It is a giant sphere that goes around the whole sun. You build a thing that completely encapsulates the sun, and on the inner lining of it are solar panels, and it just 100% absorbs all of the solar radiation from the sun. Because the sun puts out enough energy in a second to literally completely eclipse all of the energy production of all of human history combined. So if you could completely capture all the energy of the sun, it would be insane. That's not really possible because the sun is 1,000,000 times bigger than the planet Earth. So how on earth are we going to get the resources to do that?
Yeah, we don't have in the next fucking... You're saying in your lifetime, right?
Yeah.
This is your plan.
This is my plan.
So there's no way for us to do that in the next, 60 years.
However, a Dyson swarm is a lot more reasonable. Instead of having a sphere that completely covers the sun, you just build a fuckload of very small little solar panel robot creatures, little drones, that float around the sun, that orbit the sun very closely, and then you would capture energy from them, like by beaming it back or whatever the fuck you do, right? So where are you going to get the resources? Well, it'd take a lot of money and time to get it all the way, to build this thing and send it to the sun. That'd be really tricky. So
getting the energy back. Yeah,
so here's what we do. We build a base on Mercury. Mercury has ice on it. Did you know that? On the poles. There are craters where there are points where there is no.
Because I play the video game Destiny.
Nice. I've never played.
Yeah.
But
I've been to Mercury. Forrest. Fucking chill.
There are spots on Mercury that actually have ice because they never, ever, ever see any sunlight.
Yeah.
So there are parts of Mercury that are not like you could build a base camp there. So you build a base on Mercury. Mercury's mostly rocks, heavy metal. It's dense. It's iron. You mine Mercury,
right,
for resources. You build the first solar panel in the Dyson Swarm. You send it off to the sun. The energy from that one thing, and you're right next to the sun. You're on fucking Mercury, right there. So it's really quick, very cheap.
Launch it almost immediately.
Exactly. The amount of energy you would get from that one solar panel being right there next to the sun would be enough to fuel like 10 more mining operations on Mercury. So you do that. And then you send up 10 more things. And you build more mining operations. And we mine Mercury into non-existence. Completely destroy Mercury. It's not doing fucking anything for anybody. Nobody on Earth is needing Mercury right now. Or ever.
This is where the plan starts to fucking scare people.
We destroy Mercury.
Mine Mercury into nothing.
Yes. We destroy Mercury.
Fine.
And now we have so many solar panels there on around the sun with so much energy coming back to Earth. It's the difference between where we are now and 2 million years ago fucking Homo habilis making the first stone tools. It is an unbelievable difference. We're talking like horse and carriage versus fucking the Starship Enterprise. We're talking insane differences now. We use this is a technological revolution beyond its scope of human understanding. We use this energy that we have, this newfound energy, to invest in like biomedical sciences and biomechanics. We make medicine and technology so good that you can start a GoFundMe for charity if you can't run a marathon on your 400th birthday. You're considered critically disabled at this point. We have a deep understanding of the human genome and the way that we can make sure that nobody ever has cancer or fucking AIDS or fucking Huntington's disease, or nobody's ever born with nobody gets shin splints anymore because we have such a good fucking handle on human biology now because we have all this fucking technology and energy now. Fucking space travel, not a big deal. But we're not going to get there yet because the first thing we're going to do with all this fucking energy is clean up our fucking planet. No more plastic in the ocean. Everybody's safe and clean, has clean water. The environments are good. That we clean up the atmosphere. We handle the climate. Everything's good. With that kind of technology, if we can do that, you know what else we can do? We can clean up the climate on Mercury. Because Venus.
Venus.
Yeah, I apologize. We clean up the atmosphere on Venus. Because Venus is the same size as Earth. It just has an insanely thick, dense atmosphere, and that's why Venus is actually the hottest planet in the solar system. Because it has such a thick atmosphere full of greenhouse gases that it literally rains molten lead there. It's insane. Yeah. So we clean up the atmosphere on Venus. We now have two Earths right next to each other. Instead of jump-starting Mars, because Mars is a dead planet, we just go to fucking Venus and fix it. Clean up the atmosphere. Now we have two Earths. Super cool. We can now, with two planets full of resources, make sure everybody has, we have plenty of room to spread out and live. Also, we could fucking jumpstart Mars if we wanted to. Who gives a shit? We can do whatever we want. But instead, we invest in interstellar travel because right now our technology to travel space is incredibly slow, and we go to Alpha Centauri, or Proxima Centauri, and we fucking start fixing that place up. And with
5.
Literally, like,
it's Civ 5.
Figuratively, like, okay, I'm talking like relativistically, relatively within fucking overnight, we would go from being where we're at now as filthy, stupid animals scrounging around on the ground for fucking scraps. That's where we are.
I know.
We're just stinking animals, fucking just begging the overlords to give us equal rights. Like, please, sir, may I have some bodily autonomy, please? We're these creatures just fucking begging for resources. We go from that to a fucking galactic empire in a day, practically. It's the same blink of an eye as to say, like, in the billions of years that the Earth is here, humans have only been around for, like, a couple 100,000 years. It's the blink of an eye. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. I'm talking about that humans have been having, like, civilizations for like 12,000 years. I'm talking about in one fucking generation, we could revolutionize things past the point of recognition and become the gods that we were fucking born to be, man. We could do such great things. Terrible, but great things if we just tried, if we just had the courage to try. And I fucking want to do that with my life, man. That's what I want to do. I want to make humans what they could be. I want to teach science,
terrifying.
And I want to destroy religion.
Fucking scary.
And once I have freed people from the chains of their... Oh,
you
man.
Can't say all this on episode 7.
Ah.
We got to get more power first.
We could be great.
So that's the
plan. Be gods. We could be gods. But instead, we're here on the ground, making gods up to grovel to. And we could be gods ourselves, man.
If that doesn't sound like the Antichrist, I don't know what
Quit telling them my plan!
But, yeah, so that's, so I mean, I think eventually you'll get there. I just don't. I think what you're going to realize is that actually sending shit to Mercury and then getting that whole thing off the ground is like actually going to take like 50 years.
It's a huge first step. Huge first step.
Once it's going, it's, cool.
Oh, it's going to be so great.
But then what happens if the fucking AI center that operates the mining operation fucks up? Then you got to send one guy up there to try to fix it.
All right, Ted, it's on you.
It's a mission you most likely won't come
the
back
fate
from.
of the human race is in your hands.
There's like a fucking game like that. Oh, it's called Deliver Us the Moon.
Deliver Us the Moon?
Yeah.
I've never heard of it.
It's kind of like a little indie game. I only played part of it, but it's like basically like we built somehow we were getting energy from on the moon. We were making energy on the moon. I don't know, with we had a solar panel field or some shit, beaming it back to Earth. It was really helping people out.
Yeah.
Stuff. And then stopped working.
Oh shit.
And so they send an astronaut up there. But they send the astronaut. It's been there was no more communication from the people on the moon, and then they didn't send the astronaut to check on them for 10 years or some shit.
Gotcha.
So you get up there and you can't find anybody. Nobody's up there. It's weird.
You know what blows my mind to think about? And then we have to end. We're running over time. But
overtime.
Right. What blows my mind to think about is that when we do expand other planets, the first baby to be born on Mars or on wherever we go
is probably
at that point we now have to put planet of origin on all of our passports and shit and birth certificates.
That's crazy.
And within 2 generations, that baby will be born and raised by Earthlings on Mars. That kid is a Martian. When they have kids, they are now Martians raising Martians. Why the fuck do they care about Earth? And that's when the revolution happens. They're going to want independence.
There's a lot of fucking books and games and movies about that concept.
Really? I sell a t-shirt because I talked about this once on a live stream and we had a lot of fun with it. And I sell a t-shirt now on my merch store that says Free Mars, Martian Independence Now. And you can have the fight that is several years away from happening. You can start the argument now to free Mars generations before it's going to be a problem.
It's going to be a problem.
Plug from my merch store, by the way. Links in the description. With that, I think we want to wrap it up because we're a little
time to wrap it up.
Yeah.
We go back.
We were talking about sex at the beginning. Wrap it up then too.
Always wrap it up unless you're trying to not to. If you're there's situations where you don't have to anymore. Yeah.
My name's Forrest.
You're on good birth control or depending on which hole.
That's Ben. And this has been a weird one. Thanks for tuning in. I like this one a lot.
It's a historical moment.
A lot of fun. Thanks so much for tuning in. I don't know why you continue to do it, but I appreciate it.
I appreciate it too.
I am recording new YouTube videos this week, so expect to see those within the next week or so. I know it's been a long time since I've posted YouTube videos. I've been really busy with grad school at the end of the semester, and it was really hard. So I'll hopefully see you guys soon there. Thanks so much for tuning in.
I'm working on a bunch of dumb stuff, but it's not coming out yet.
Have an awesome rest of your day. Goodbye.
Bye.